What's up, y'all? Today we are back with a hockey graphic breakdown. It is a schedule poster that I made for the Air Force hockey team. It ended up not getting used, and I was super hyped about it. The fact that it didn't get used makes me pretty sad. Without further ado, I'm gonna cry now. Just kidding. Let's break it down. I started out with a blue background, put a gradient overlay on it, set to 50%, like I do. Gives it that pop look. And then we have little shading on the bottom right, a little more light on the top left. Those are just a white brush, kind of faded in, set to overlay, and a black brush, faded in, set to overlay as well. Then we have the texture lines that Air Force had me use. I set those both to overlay as well, just because I liked the look of that, set to overlay, and it just gives the background some texture. Then we have the word hockey, which will be the only word that shows up for a while. So then we have the platform to make, and what I did here is just stretch down the texture to make the front of the platform, made that black and white, and then just boosted the blacks kind of way up towards the white, and then put a little bit of shading on it from the bottom to the top using just a gradient black brush. And then we have the ice texture for the ice platform. So that is a picture that I found, and then I just transformed it to this shape. Obviously it was a regular square, so you just drag it down and then pull in the back corners, and that gives it the perspective that we want. So then we have a black and white layer and another curves layer to kind of make it look a little less dark. Like this looks a little more frosty like we want. It's a little bit too dark in some areas, so just boost that up a bit. Then we have the shadows for the hockey player feet. All these are just sets of shadows, and they're all just ellipses, or they're all just black brushes that are cut away to one side and then faded out and then just moved around. I'll show you how to do that in a bunch of my other videos, so you can go check that out. So this is basically what it looks like normally, and then I just tweak it in a bunch of different directions. So we have the guy in the back. As you can see, the shadow just fits his skate super well. What we did is we cut all of them out, gave them all camera raw filters, and then we used this texture on top of all of them. So what I did was I put a clipping mask onto them and put the texture on top, and then I double clicked on the layer and pulled the whites down. So this is using the player cutout to determine what it needs to take away from like the lightest areas on the player. So as you can see, his jersey's like the lightest areas, so it's taking it off of there. So you can drag the slider down and then hold Alt and pull that slider apart to make it more gradual and pull it away. So basically I did that to give him a sort of frosty look, like I did, like I'm gonna do the rest of them. As you can see, it just kind of takes away some of the darker areas and just kind of frosts over the uniform, and set that to luminosity. And then on him we have an inner shadow from the top left, set to linear dodge add. The lighting is coming from over here, it's coming down, hitting him, so we've got it on that left side. Then we've got an inner shadow set to linear burn on the right side, and then just a drop shadow to just make him pop off the background just a little bit, super subtle. Then we've got the next guy, basically doing all the same effects to him. Use the same sort of frosty look over top of him and his hockey stick. And then we found a picture of icicles and put that onto his hockey stick. Make it look like it's frozen over and it's got icicles on it. Just thought that was a cool thing to do. And then we just brightened that up a bit, gave it some contrast with the curves layer just on the icicles, and kind of faded those out. And I like the way that looks. And then I gave him the same effects as the last guy. Again, both these guys are in groups, so just did it to the whole group. And then this next guy, so these are icicles too, but they've got a Gaussian blur on them and they're stretched in a funny way, and that is why. So we have this guy kind of flicking a hockey puck, and so what I did is I gave him some motion blur. That's what it looks like on top of his whole body, but I just painted away most of it except for kind of his arm and his hockey stick, so it looks like he's in motion hitting the puck. Then we have that same frosty look over top of him like we did the last two guys. Put all that in a group and we put the same effects on that group. Then we have the last cutout. There's that frosty effect again, same sort of icicle look on his hockey stick, and the curves layer to give that some contrast. All that's in a group. Put the same effects on him, and that's it for the cutouts. So then we added in some smoky, frosty fog in the bottom And I just like the way that look. You know, it looks like that like frosty kind of steam coming off of the ice that they're standing on. And then I found some like speckled texture and painted that in where this guy's puck was coming from. So it looks like he kind of like skirted his hockey stick across the ice and picked up some ice chips with it, and he's kicking those away. And then I did the same thing with the smoky, foggy, whatever it is, kind of over top of him. So I really like the way that looks. It just looks like he's like kicking up dust and particles. Then once I had all them together, I just gave them some color lookups to kind of make it all one look. Then I have a background texture set to linear burn, and that kind of goes over the whole thing so far. Doesn't affect them as much because it's set to linear burn and because of the sliders that I slid up, so it doesn't affect the whites quite as much. And then we have this blurred layer. So this is a stamp of everything underneath. That's what it looks like. So that's like the whole graphic so far. Well, plus this hockey puck that I'm about to add in. I just have a Gaussian blur on that. And so I took these 3 ice planes that I'm about to show you how I made and used their cutouts to basically make this layer into the shape of their cutouts. You can kind of see it right now, but you'll see more in a second. So it's blurred in certain spots, and I'll show you why right here. So we have these ice textures in the shape of airplanes, and they have an inner shadow and a drop shadow on them. And so what that does is, for each of these, is since the opacity is down on them, they're set to hard light. It's like you can see through them, but behind them, the background is blurred, and that's what I was showing you before. So like the Y right here, it just looks like super cool because they're looking through the ice, so the Y is blurred, and like the background, his puck or his hockey stick are blurred. Same thing over here. Just a really cool effect. A lot of people are actually using it right now, even though I made this a while ago. So they're basically hopping on my ideas, and everybody's stealing my ideas because they want to be like me. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm totally kidding. People did this way before me. I just thought it was a cool effect. Anyway, so I wanted to add some more smoke into the front, partially just to make a place that was light enough to put the sponsors and stuff down here. So if I made the sponsors and whatever dark, that they could pop off the white smoke and stuff that I put down here. So I think that looks pretty good. And then we have the puck. So there's a lot of effects on it. So that's what it looks like normally. We added a motion blur and a radial blur. So the motion blur is kind of going from like here to like down here or something. And the radial blur is making it spin, which, you know, obviously a puck is not going to like stay in the same orientation or whatever you call it in mid-flight. So it's kind of like in a spinny motion, kind of blurred since it's closer to the camera. And then we just have an inner shadow on the top left of the puck and a inner shadow on the bottom right, which is, you know, how the lighting is. So the light hitting it from this side, the shadow on this side. Then we have the text and sponsors, and not all of it is accurate because we didn't get to the point of actually putting in the right information, but that's just like the filler text. One more color lookup and color change that I kind of wanted to add, but I just wasn't sure if I liked it or not. I think I like it better without, but you could go either way. Let me know your thoughts on this. Let me know if they should have used it, if you like it, or if you think it's garbage and it's a good thing they didn't use it and it should be thrown in the fire. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, check out this next video. Check out my Patreon to find Photoshop files like this that you can gain access to and look through yourself and go through the graphics with the videos.